It is Jerry Jones. Good morning, sir.
Hey, guys. Good morning. And I guess we're going to have another fabulous weekend of watching some football. But when you hear that low tone, sounds like an old lonesome train. That's me screaming in my pillow.
Now,
out here.
You wanted to jump on, which we love you being on the fan. Got to ask just right out the gate, what is on your mind?
Well, I wanted to basically speak to Coach McCarthy, Mike. Wanted to speak to the exciting news of Dan Quinn, of course, joining us for some years to come. As to joining us as our coordinator. And what I wanted to clear up was this was a competitive situation in my view. Dan Quinn was really being pursued as a potential head coach. And I've had two other occasions in my career where a coordinator was offered a head coaching job, and I got them not to accept it. One was with Sean Payton, and he was offered the job at the Raiders when Parcells was the head coach. I asked him to not take it and stay coordinating and see what happens with the future here at the Cowboys. And then I asked Jason Garrett to do the same thing, and he passed on a head coaching job as well to stay here and be a part of the future of the Cowboys. And so I'd experienced seeing coaches turn down a head job for our situation. And so I really was trying hard, meeting with Dan Quinn. Mike, this is the thing I want to clear up. Mike was very involved in this process and very involved in trying to give us every chance to keep Dan Quinn. And there's no question it was a competitive situation, and I couldn't really get out and speak to it publicly because I didn't want to push teams toward him. And I wanted to keep him for ourselves and Dan, and that's what ended up happening. Mike and I worked together in a joint effort. That's what it's going to take this year. We did some things that I'm really proud of with our coaching staff. We did some things I'm proud of with our team. We didn't do a lot of things that we need to do to not be sitting here out of the playoffs next year, and we're all committed to do it. But the thing I want to clear up is that the idea of Mike being twisting in the wind just wasn't the case at all. We were sitting there trying to keep Dan Quinn and trying to maintain continuity on our coaching staff.
Did you have to reassure Mike McCarthy after Sean Payton quit that he's going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
No, I did not. I did not, because we're sitting here building together our future. No. But I did. He's well aware of our relationship and long-term friendship with Peyton and Sean, and I haven't talked to Sean and not a part of any of the dialogue or any of the decision-making relative to him leaving New Orleans. But my point is we've just been really had our head down and getting this staff in the shape, particularly at the top, the coordinator level, and whether it be the special teams or whether it be offense, defense. And frankly, we've still kind of in that area right now regarding Kellen until we see where that dust settles there.
Jerry, I'll get back to Kellen in just a second, but are you saying that Dan Quinn was offered a head coaching job somewhere else and you talked him into staying and being a coordinator?
I believe that very much. I know this. He is staying and being our coordinator for years to come. And so I know that he was the busiest coordinator out here being interviewed for jobs. And yes, I would say that specifically. It's a real compliment to Mike. It's a compliment to us. It's a compliment to the organization. These are good jobs here with the Cowboys.
Any chance you can by chance tell us what job that might have been that he might have turned down?
No. And by the way, you will never know The only person that would know, like in our particular case, the only one with the Cowboys, if you were going to get a job here, that would know really whether or not he was going to get it if he had stayed available would be me. I'm the only one that would know that, because we don't have a vote or a meeting that we then throw the hammer down and say done. That's not the way it works.
Now, along those lines, you said there was not a point where Mike McCarthy was twisting in the wind or anything like that. Do you think...
No, you had him twisted, not you, but our media did, and I didn't want to get involved publicly because we were in a highly competitive situation.
Do you think any
I'll
of...
make it look like that I overly, other than what was the obvious, I didn't want to make it look like so that it'd be that much more interesting to another club. I was fighting to keep him for our coordinator, not him go be a head coach.
And when you talk about the media, I actually think our show might have played a part in that, specifically your interview on this show last week. Do you think that led to any of the speculation about Mike McCarthy's job status?
They do. Those are have been my public sentiments. And the sentiment was frustration. The sentiment was just so disappointed that we're not playing. But we did some good things last year, too, and we want to build on that, and we can. That's the point. And what I said on the show, and I've seen it written several times, is that I've got everybody under contract that I want under contract. It's just a question of whether under the rules they're going to be able to get out of the contract. And so we went out and did something about and reinforced at the most critical level there with Dan. But it was never an issue with me, with Mike being the head coach. You've never heard that from me.
Jerry,
you've taken the fact that I was sitting there being coy, you've taken that and interpreted, not you, but it was taken as though I were somehow wishy-washy. Just because you're frustrated doesn't mean that somebody necessarily is going to lose a job.
Jerry, you mentioned Sean Payton and Jason Garrett as two guys that you said, I'm not going to let them go elsewhere. I want to keep them around. A lot of people are speculating that because Dan Quinn's back, there's double pressure on McCarthy because of the head coaching experience. Do you look at it that way?
I don't look at it the opposite way. And let me assure you, Mike looks at it differently. Mike did everything that he could do to help us get and keep and extend Dan Quinn. He did everything he could do. He's not into worrying about that. He's the head coach. We worked in unison, worked great together, and we basically were just doing our jobs. Mike actually said correct, and it was just kind of maybe skipped over, and he basically said, Jerry and I talk job status, I'm fine. He said that. What you didn't hear was an announcement wasn't necessary. Man, we're in a competitive situation for key personnel, key coaches here, that I didn't want to be over here pushing and talking about how good they were, how good they weren't, where we are. All that's read like a fine-tooth comb with your competition. That's other teams trying to get your staff.
Jerry, when it comes to Mike McCarthy, and he's an offensive coach, he talked about Kellen Moore and how he did not want to get in his way. I know there's a lot to that, just one sentence there, but do you hope that Mike McCarthy, if the team is struggling offensively next year, can step in and help out Kellen Moore in the offense more?
No question that we're going to attempt hard and use everything that Mike has got in his background experience to help us on every part of this football team. And obviously, we didn't get past the first round, and we need to address a lot of areas, and we will. But there are a lot of areas we did some good things in, and we can do some work in those areas too. But Mike's a football coach, and he's got really one of the greatest career records you can look at. And working with him is great, and he's intense. And we've got a big job. And so, to answer your question, heck yeah, he'll be involved in the minutia, or he'll be involved in every way we can to improve any part of our team. And I say that deliberately because he is the head coach, and that's what he do.
Talk with Jerry Jones right here on 105.3 The Fan. I love that phrasing right there. I know you said earlier you're waiting to find out about Kellen Moore. I know he's got a second interview with the Dolphins and everything like that. Do you get a sense along the process? Do other teams reach out to you and tell you what direction they might be going? Do you believe Kellen Moore will be back with this team next year?
Okay, you asked about 3 questions.
I did.
And that's all right. That's all right. I get a sense they do not reach out, and I believe he'll be back next year.
Is that what you want?
Yes.
I'm really curious about this, Jerry, and I think a lot of people are too. What's your relationship with Sean Payton like versus like maybe any other coaches out there? If you want to kind of clear that up a little bit too, because a lot of people have some thoughts on that. And were you surprised that Sean quit this year?
Again, I won't address the last question about surprise. That's not something that I would go to. Sean is easy and really pleasant to be around. He does things that really help ball teams and help motivate players. He's got it. There's a great story about when New Orleans beat us. There's a rule against having alcohol on a team plane. And so when New Orleans beat us one year when Bill was coaching, Sean's first win after joining the New Orleans staff, and they happened to have a lot of no alcohol beer on board. And I'm winking. And they happened to have a lot of it. Well, the trip from here to New Orleans is probably, 35, 40 minutes. Well, he said after that win, we'll just stay in the air until we've consumed our beer. So they flew up around Denver to go home to New Orleans, straight in there from here to New Orleans so that they could celebrate. That kind of natural, instinctive, I call leadership or spontaneous or type approach to life as opposed to his team, as opposed to his associates, is a real asset to him. And he makes it the drudgery of the game, which is physical. And boy, you need some lightness from time to time in there to handle the rigors of a football team, a season, or sometimes even a game. He knows how to punch those buttons.
Jerry, with him being out there, the world looks at that and goes, "Hey, that's a guy that Jerry does love." I don't want to necessarily talk about that, but how important then does this change what the Cowboys, what this coaching staff needs to do this season as far as, do they need to win a certain amount of games? Do they got to get to a certain place? Does that change kind of knowing that there's a guy out there and then this coaching staff has a job they got to accomplish? Is there more pressure?
Not at all. And the rationale, I think a lot of Sean. But there's going to be somebody other than Sean win the Super Bowl this year. And if he doesn't coach, it'll be somebody other than Sean win the Super Bowl next year. My point is, you win Super Bowls and people win Super Bowls. There's no one person indispensable as far as winning the Super Bowl is concerned.
Talk with Jerry Jones right here on 105.3 The Fan. You talk about how obviously, unfortunately, the Cowboys didn't get to where we all hoped they would be. Is a lot of that falls on fair or unfair from the discussion standpoint on the quarterback. I'm curious your thoughts about Dak's play in the second half of the season, and do you think he has to play better for this team to ever get past the wild card round?
Well, Dak has played at levels a lot that can win Super Bowls, that can take a team to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. There's no adage. Once you've seen them do it, you know they can do it. It's there. And so you've got to be real careful if for whatever game or whatever period of time it's not there. You've got to be careful of lumping that into, well, he can't do it. Again, there's some great quarterbacks in this league today, and you're only going to have one of them get the job done. Only one. And so you better be careful throwing all those others out the door and saying they just can't win one. That's just not the way it works. I'm being trite. I'm excited. It's really right there at the most reason I'm positive about going forward next year and the next year and the next year about us having a chance to compete for the Super Bowl. He's probably at the very top of the list of where I'm excited about it, Dak Prescott.
Jerry, yesterday Michael Irvin on this station said that you lack patience when you want something. I know you want the Super Bowl championship. What do you want on this team right now, lacking your patience?
Well, that's Michael knows me as well as anybody there is, and he's right. I want to act nervous. I used to ask him when he got in trouble, let's say got in a bad spot and was hemmed in a back alley. Why does he laugh? Why does he laugh? And he said, the laughing covers up my fear. It covers up my fear. Well, impatient, those type of characteristics in my way, as far as my opinion of myself, is covering up what I'm feeling. And so the impatience is frustration. Now, what you got to do is make sure that doesn't get over into a irrational decision. And I've made those too. One time, I made one. I'm teasing.
I was going to say,
just,
what was
just
that?
Once?
Yeah,
no, just one.
Jimmy?
Jerry, there were some people out there that did suggest that Friday when you hopped on with Mike and I that you faked being angry. What would you like to say to anybody that felt that way about it, and how long did it really take you to calm down from the stress of a week of losing in the playoffs?
Well, I really don't know how to respond to faking to be angry. I think that I've been told that I'm easy to read. I can wear it out on the cuff, but it's too much I and me in this conversation already. But the point is, I am frustrated. I'm still frustrated. I want to, if the wound is open, I want to rub salt in it. I want it to hurt, and I'm being dramatic here, but this hurt. And I want to do everything we can to remind us continually how bad it hurt to have to go home like 2 weekends ago. This hurts. We had a good team. But I'm not trying to be dramatic. I know this. It sure helped me make the decisions I made yesterday to keep Dan Quinn.
Yeah, that certainly does help. Jerry, I wanted to kind of get a little timeline then. Kellen is the next thing that you have to do to confirm that he's going to be back. I know Miami would like to have him. What other decisions are you kind of looking at down the road here? Like what's the next phase? Do you start looking at players after that or what?
Well, first of all, I know you will appreciate when I tell you I'm not going to comment because it's a competitive situation. He literally is competitive regarding Kellen. That's it. And just like I said I wasn't going to discuss our coaches here 2 weeks ago because it was not in our best interest. I was going to push the wrong button and go against us here. And so from that standpoint, now, what are we doing to improve and doing anything and everything we can off-season-wise? We got the Senior Bowl next week. We're certainly already looking at, say, we're signing, there's certain types of players that you can make deals with now. We're right in the middle of it. And the switch had a funk on it and a depressed part of it the first few days. But here it is 2 weeks later. It's time to get your head out of the bucket and get on here and start doing the right things. This was a absolute big-time happening for us yesterday to get Dan Quinn to stay here and be our coordinator. And I'm excited. I say you start with days of little victories to build upon a better feeling. Well, this started the day with a huge victory for us. To be able to maintain him and the continuity involved with our team is, in my mind, worth moving mountains for, and I think we did.
Well, we already have a promo out. You can hear all of our excitement about getting Dan Quinn back as well, so we're all with you. We want to know, this is still a huge weekend for football. Who are you picking, or who are you rooting for this weekend? And then I got to ask, when are we going to get back in this weekend of football?
Oh, boy. Well, the last one, of course, as we all know, I don't know, but we all know, I'll just point to the main thing we're talking about. I'm trying to get back there. Hello, Dan Quinn. And so that attempt starts yesterday to get that done. There is such a romance to me for Los Angeles Rams to be sitting there playing this playoff game, championship game in that new stadium. And then to turn around and potentially have, if they should win it, and have the result of playing the Super Bowl there. They are about 1 mile from the little house that my parents lived when I was born. I was born right there. And got a lot of relatives out there. And so there is so much of me that would like to see that fairy tale. Here it is, really the first real big year that they've, because of the COVID thing, to be operating in that new stadium. We've got our NFL headquarters out there. I mean, not headquarters, but our media headquarters out there. That just looks like, rather than that Hollywood sign that used to be on that mountain, kind of broken down, and that was the city of entertainment for the world. Well, now then the picture is that beautiful new stadium, NFL, and I'm excited about that. So I'm kind of rooting for them.
Appreciate the time very much, good sir. And
anything else?
Yeah, anything else on your mind?
Real quick?
Well, I'm great. But let's see. What did you think about the stock market yesterday?
Man, stock market's
crazy.
crazy.
Let's just sit here and talk about all of it.
Hey,
Listen, thank you for our time, and again, like we said, it's great. I like to communicate this way.
There you go. Thank you very much, good sir. Always good to have you on.